Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. Like water when I'm thirsty. Drink. You're like water when I'm thirsty. Drink.
But you know what? I think one of the hardest things in that is that to understand that the winner doesn't necessarily display his win on earth.
That's true.
And for me, that's where the struggle lies.
That's hard. It's hard.
It's the
fair.
hardest thing ever.
It's hard.
I don't know if it's fair.
No,
right.
I don't
It
know
is
if it's
fair.
fair. I'm being honest with you. I'm saying Sharika does not know if it's fair.
I know it's
but
fair.
It's the fact is,
why is that fair?
It's fair because when I choose to do the wrong thing and God don't strike me dead right away, I'm happy. But when you mess up and you poison me or you pollute my area or someone dies or someone's killed or they're shot and you choose to pull that trigger and you don't die immediately, I'm just like, what happened, God? What happened? But when I sleep with someone else's husband, I want God not to exist at that moment.
Two drastic
those are
differences. There's a
big,
world that lives in the middle.
And I know
there is no middle. That's a lie. There is no middle.
There's a world that lives in the middle where they
just chill.
They don't have anything. And they'll never have anything. So you're saying, you're right. But they never have anything because someone else took it and put them in that position.
No,
yes.
They just went in there.
No. There's no just was in there.
What are you talking about?
If there's drought, it's because God took the water from the area that had water, or someone put a dam up, or there was an earthquake, or some kind of tragedy at some point.
Some of the strongest Christians I know. Like if they don't make it, I ain't making it, and I may as well give up now.
You're not making it.
Always need rent money. Always short on groceries. No matter what they do, they always short. Too. But what I'm saying, wait. I say that to say,
No.
I'm talking about people I know. I'm saying the middle ground is, it's not that someone necessarily took it from them. It's just the life that they're living. Like they're just in this spot.
They're a pawn. They don't have any option other than to play the role that they're supposed to be in.
That's it.
What makes them? I want to start with the first thing you said. Some of the strongest Christians I know. What to you makes them a strong Christian?
Pardon?
From your vantage.
From my vantage point.
What makes you?
I know when things that I think I deserve don't go my way, I vex. I might not talk to God for months.
Okay.
They're just like, and through it all, God is good, and you can tell they genuinely believe that. And sometimes I just want to smack them in the face because I'm like, this can't be good. This isn't good. You're not feeling the good. So when I say to them that I admire the relationship that I see they have with God, to know that God, thick, thin, I'm ride or die. I understand that I am just a pawn in this game. I haven't reached pawn level yet. I haven't reached slave yet.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying, when you look at them as an outsider, sadly, if I'm going to be real with myself, if I'm going to get to that level of faith, there's a possibility that that's the life I got to live. I ain't signed up for that life. I don't want that life.
And
that's okay.
And for you.
And that's okay.
And that's what's hard. Again,
the winner not showing his win here.
And that's what's hard, but it depends on what life is more important to you.
That's what I'm saying.
But, it's at the end of the day, that's what it's always going to come down to. It doesn't matter what we talk about in this room right now. There is one end result. What life is more important to you? Is this life important to you, or is that life important to you? Right now, this life is important to me because I want to do more for my family. I know.
I want to take it a step back because that, the Francis Chan book, Crazy Love, it helped me adjust the perspective that's leading to this. If you put it in that context, this life versus that life, it makes it about something. This doulos concept, this I accept you as my authority, I submit myself to you because of my experience with you, makes it about him and not about the thing.
Not about heaven. Not about the next thing.
It's not about the next life. And it is only about the next life because I get to spend it with you. So I'm just saying what you're saying, but I'm framing it a little bit differently to say what is more important to me, my faithfulness to him or unfaithfulness to him. And that to me makes it, for those people, I'm almost sure that's the choice that they're making.
Mm-hmm.
It's the faithful.
Heaven or hell. It's the relationship.
So maybe life is a wrong word for me to use, because do we not become new creatures? Isn't that what they say, that we die to self when we become new creatures?
And it's a process.
So that's probably the example should I use. It's either if we're still going to live in the flesh or we're going to start living in the spirit. And it's not necessarily.
But here's what I'm saying. So saying it like that, I'm saying it for the people watching and for me. When you say it like that, it sounds technical. I understand what you're saying. It sounds technical and it is right. But when you say it, when you personalize it.
So one of the things that Jared said to me a while back, and it has stuck with me, obviously, because he said it a while back, was that would you rather go to heaven or would you rather spend eternity with Christ, with God? And I think that's kind of where down the path they're getting, because at the end of the day, like what this was describing was your Lord, like you submitting everything to him. So even if you didn't get to go to heaven, but you can sit in a daggone box with him,
right?
Is that more valuable to you?
All right.
It's just the emphasis on the relationship.
So
that's all I'm getting at.
I think the issue is I took something straight out of the Bible and you made it a lot more simple, because
I didn't make it simple.
To me,
I just took the pieces of the puzzle.
Dude, be the prophet, man, and calm down.
I put the picture.
My thing is, to me, you made it simple because I was saying what you were saying. It didn't come out that way.
Yes.
My thing is this, and when I say die to self, live in the spirit, I'm talking about to be able to live with him in you. Let me tell you, I kid you not, that has been the best feeling I have ever had in my life. And I've done a lot of things in this life. But the thing is, when you have such a sense, that sense of peace that you feel in you, like to the point where you could just say, God, right now, and you feel it.
Right now, what?
Like when I was at that, let me tell you, the job, it wasn't necessarily because I had a master's degree and all that other stuff. When I realized the lesson in that job that God had for me was when the door started to open. It wasn't because some magical thing happened. When I stopped being angry about the situation, when I started on believing exactly who I was saying was my Lord and what he was capable of and what he could do, and to be at peace in that moment, and to brain fart right now. What Paul says.
We don't like Paul.
Being
I like Braveheart though.
Being not complacent. What he says? He says I'm having a brain fart right now. He talks about being okay with where you are.
Content.
Being content. When I started to be content with, even though I know I didn't have anything, and the job didn't treat me right, but when I got to that point and I started having a better reflection of him, when I started going to work and smiling, people being like, "Why are you smiling? Like, what's wrong? Why are you so happy?"
What's wrong with
because
you?
I had that sense, because I was living with him. Was when that's when it changed for me.
And choice.
Yes.
Perspective
when
is
I
reality.
When I made that choice.
Perspective is reality.
Your
perspective.
Right. When I made
reality.
When I made that choice to live with him, was when things changed me. So even when the things kept happening, because I was still going to the job didn't change.
So let me ask you this, and I'm a jerk. So I'll be the jerk.
No, I'm a jerk too. So
I'm a jerk. So let me ask you this. So I'm listening to your testimony. I'm listening to what you're talking about. But then you said that you don't have your devotion. You're not doing on last time you prayed. Like
something happened.
Yeah. So
So how do you not call on those experiences to be like, I know better?
And that's exactly what it is. And why did he have to keep reminding the children of Israel, like, dude, I just did this to you, but they kept going back. And that was my struggle. And you hear this the mountain and valley experience, and I'm like, God, I want to come back, but I don't really know how to right now, because there's these things that I want to do right now, and you don't seem to be on the same page with me. And when I did the right thing, I didn't see a benefit, or one of the things you're taught, I didn't see I'm doing the right things. I'm praying with people in parking lots. God had me talking to people that I was just like, really? But I knew it was him. And I mean, literally, parking lots, going to my car before I walk away. So, but the thing is, and I know it, and there is a reference, and getting back has been hard. It's been extremely hard for me, because there's still all these things going on around me, and I have not been willing to remove myself and allow His Spirit to guide me once again. Yeah. It's a choice that I made.
Go ahead, Chris.
I have an issue. And this is my personal issue, and this is what I question God about all the time in terms of why He made me the way He made me. I overthink everything. My wife gets annoyed because she has that type of faith that she says, I'm like, wait. No, we got to think about this. So, what you just said, and I had a question for you, but this is going to tie in together. You just said your perspective is your reality. That's a big deal. Yeah. Your perspective is your reality. So the way you choose to see things is going to determine the way you experience things.
It's true.
Even God.
And people can't accept that.
And that's a hard thing, because, like, my question was for you when you said I have this relationship. Like, my question was, why do you have a relationship?
Okay. You don't have time to know why I have a relationship.
Just give them the
Is that asking
But here we go.
Give them the cliff notes.
Here's the cliff notes.
But I mean,
Here's the
I
cliff
feel
notes.
like the simple black and white answer, because you want to.
Because I chose to.
Right.
Because I chose to.
Why'd you choose?
And once I chose to, chose to. Now, my mom died when I was 8.
Okay.
And I looked at everyone else around me, and I was like, these people crazy. Everybody in my household is crazy. And I'm one of the crazy people. But I'm not going to grow up crazy, because I can't stay in this place in Brooklyn, and I have to get out of here, or I'm going to be even more crazy.
You made a choice.
And so I said, I realized I could not do it by myself.
So you did not grow up with God?
I realized I could not do it by myself. And the people who I thought could help me, they were kind of clueless too. So I said, let me open up this book that my mom, before she died, she converted to Christianity. Let's just say it like that. And I said, she was a little crazy too. So let me open this book for myself.
Right.
Let me look at this book, and this is what I believe in. It confuses me, but that's because I don't know everything. Let me read it. If I find another book that is better than this book, I am open to reading that book.
Right.
And so a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people who say, I'm done. So I've read Torah, I've read this, I've read that. I majored in history of religion, and put that in there too. World history. And I studied different things, because I said, you know what? I'm not just going to do what my mama said do.
Right.
I'm going to read for myself. And my experiences led me and continue to lead me. Because the truth is, you can have a close walk with God today, and you could want that over there. And if God says no, and you decide yes, then that part of your relationship starts to change. And that's why we have the mourning and the crying.
But my question is, but if perspective is reality, how do you decipher what is your real reality versus... Because there are people who have relationships with people, and it's one-sided. Because in their mind...
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm in a relationship, and the other person's like, I don't even know this person.
And are they sitting
like
dormant?
I met you on Facebook. Like, I don't...
But you know
Are
what?
they
I'm going to tell you the
studying
truth.
Studying? Are they showing?
I told Jared this a couple weeks ago. I said the reason why I'm going to restart my Christianity is because I tried it the other way and I don't like it. And I might not like this way either. But there's clearly I can choose a side.
Right. What was the other way?
The sinful way. I was doing my own thing. I'm going to do what I want to do as I want to do it. I'm going to blame God for everything that goes wrong because you claim you're God and I don't really know what you're doing. But I did it my way. I don't like it that way.
Right.
I'm going to try God's way. I might not like this either. And I might go back the other way.
Right.
But at least I'm going to be real with myself and know that that way wasn't favorable to me. Which that perspective didn't work for me. I was still unhappy.
Right.
I have nothing to lose by trying this way. And it sounds very self-preserving. It sounds very selfish. I get it. But that's where I had to be like, at this point, I'm worried about self. I don't know where self goes from here. But self is unhappy.
The only weird thing about it is that you're still trying God. Like you haven't left God.
But I was never really for God either, if I'm going to be honest with myself. If I'm going to be honest with myself, I was in the middle, in the river on the bank the whole time. Like, when it works for me, I'll make this work. Rather than pick a side and stick to it type of thing. So I've now chosen to pick a side completely. I might not like this and I might go back the other way. And Jared goes, that's fine. And I was like, word, so it's okay if I just go back to the sin and that's okay. And he goes, well, I tried that way. I never went back, so I'm willing to let you try. And that's what I told my friend today. I said, pick a side. If the other side didn't work, you have nothing to lose by trying this side. And it sounds selfish, but eventually that selfishness, if it's real, if God's real, eventually it'll be selfless. Because I'm saying I'm coming to you selfish because I want something. I don't know what I really want, but I want something better than there. So I'm going to go this way. And I think that's the best way that I've been able to tell people who ride the river like me. Because, sadly, I'm selfish. And I want what's best for me.
You saw Matrix?
Yeah.
You did? I didn't see.
You know how... you know how when Neo got the light of what the world was really like and they were all in tattered clothes and eating slop.
Right.
You know, that was their reality.
Right.
And Cypher wanted to go back.
Right.
The idea is that but you saw how committed, what's his name, Morpheus was to the vision, regardless of what the reality is. That's the idea of what the perspective is, the reality thing. Cypher had one perspective. This sucks. I want the Matrix. Put me back in. Morpheus is like, nah, man, this is the best thing since sliced bread. We're gonna get the one and we're gonna win this war. I've had the experience where I went to bed one night.
But isn't that based on their personal desire of what they determine happiness to be?
Whatever their perspective is. Their perspective determines their reality.
Because freedom was better for some people.
And ignorance is better for others.
And ignorance is better for others.
I was saying,
but that doesn't work in this sense because only one way leads to God. Like only one way. Right. Because I could be.
But that's okay.
But that's the point.
Because the truth is, if you don't want what God wants for you, you have a choice. That's what we were talking about before. You have a choice.
Right.
And if you choose not to be with God, you can actually be happy. You can actually be happy. And people lie and say, oh, if you're not with the Lord, you're not going to be happy. God doesn't do that to you. He says, you know what? You have a choice.
Right.
You know? So, read the Bible. It's like, even sometimes, enjoy yourself now. Enjoy all you have now.
I think my issue is that I believe, because in my mind, I'm like, it just makes, like...
You're hedging your bet.
Huh?
You're hedging your bet.
No, I feel like I believe it because I feel like this all didn't just happen. Like, so there is God. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I guess I don't know him the way everybody else. I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I believe there's God, but I don't see the God that everybody else sees. Or I don't see what the book says. Like, all this miraculous stuff. No, I've never seen anything miraculous in my life.
But you just said all this stuff happened.
Except this.
This isn't by chance.
This isn't by chance.
What do you mean it's not by chance?
That life, earth, planets, that it just doesn't it's by design.
Okay.
But when I read the book and I'm looking at my reality other than things. When I'm looking about my personal experience, I don't see actually anything that the book says.
Do you think you are like part of this?
What do you mean?
Like you're saying, like everything around, like everything's miraculous. The planets, the space, everything,
including myself,
including you. You're miraculous,
right?
All right, but it just stops there.
Based on what I've been taught, because if I'm going based off the book says he does this, he does that, he does this.
What's that?
But he parts seas, he raises people from the dead. But I've never experienced that by seeing. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean. I'm with you.
Let me ask you this. Did you just out of curiosity? It's not a big question.
Right?
Have you read cover to cover?
No.
Okay. I beg you, implore you, try it. Try it 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Try it 1 year, because I was like you, and he was cognitive. I didn't know, dude. He was in the head. It's probably the best. I weighed it logically, and this made the most sense. It made the most sense. I did this 1 year, and the first year was hard because Isaiah and Jeremiah didn't make sense. I caught it in the middle. And it was like, who are they talking about? What is going on? Made it back around, and then what I saw was, I want you to see it for yourself, but I'm going to tell you what I saw.
Of course.
I saw a dude who really, really, really wanted to bring people back to him. And all that he did, all of it, was just for that purpose.
Yeah.
That's it. And he's so passionate about it that he would beat them, he would bless them, he would beat them some more, he would bless them some more. And he was hoping to use these folks so that these other folks over here could get to know him. And oftentimes, those folks over there already acknowledged him and were already in relationship with him. He talks about Nebuchadnezzar like he was his boy. Darius, the king, he said, Darius, go build my temple. Darius was not Jew.
Right.
He was, out there. I'm saying what he really wants and what Jesus came to do. And it says it in Thessalonians. The ministry is of reconciliation. I want to bring these people back to me. I want them to get to know me, because I know once they really get to know me, they're going to really like me. But they really don't want to get to know me because they like themselves better. And I can't tolerate rebellion. And so I'm work with them until they get to the place of rebellion. What happened at the flood was that everybody had decided, I am my own boss.
Right.
I want to do what I want. You are at the place where he wants you to start seeking him. And I'm pretty confident, not 100% sure, that if you were in the comfortable place that you desire to be, you probably wouldn't have that impetus to search.
No, I agree with that. But I feel like then that's the issue, that I'm always searching. Like since childhood, I'm always searching. So I'm always going through something that's bringing me to something I'll never get to.
But so you're gonna have you in your search,
Is your search complete?
have you wholeheartedly gone in here searching for him?
At times. And I've felt like I've not gotten. So it's like, what am I still? What am I getting here?
I will suggest take next year.
Okay.
And go beginning to end in search, not just reading your Bible, not just devotion, because that's what. When I first got the plan, I was just reading. The next year, when the January started, I'm like, I'm making this alone time. So all I'm doing right now is trying to get to know you. And as you do that, I'm saying it confidently. He says it so many times that it's unbelievable. When you seek me, you will find me. When you seek me with your whole heart. I'm telling you, our search is not wholehearted if we're not finding him.
I would definitely co-sign to that, because you know what made me change at 33, 34? I took that 1 year and read the Bible. And I didn't try to rush through it. And it's funny, I just happened to be somebody that gave me some things to read.
Right.
And every day, and I would make sure I did nothing else at that. If it was even 20 minutes, I usually 30 minutes, but I will always pray before I open the book, and I will say, God, right now, just give me your spirit to see what it is you need me to see right here. And even when I go back now, if I decide I want to read, and it could be the same verse, he would give me something else.
Something different.
But when I made sure that I didn't try to read too much, but I purposely set that time and I prayed. And that is what changed for me. That's what made me see. That's what made me, because I was searching too. I've been searching my whole life. I'm in counseling right now because I didn't realize I had this. I've been searching my whole life because I have abandonment issues.
Right.
My dad left when I was young. My parents divorced when I was very young. A child doesn't understand what adults go through and why relationships don't work. What a child sees is that their father, that they love with all their heart, left.
Right.
My mother got remarried, had other kids. I became second nature. Dude, if you grew up in Brooklyn in the 80s and 90s during the crack era, you know what that was like. I used to be out till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning as a 12, 13-year-old.
You know.
Going to basement parties.
But everybody else was up too.
Because my mother was just kind of like, she had other kids.
Yeah,
and then she
had
sent
a-
me
she
away
had
to
a new
school.
life, yeah.
She sent me to Florida to my grandparents. So those are the first two people that I love with all my heart that chose something that was more important to them than me. And then my grandmother did it. And then my first love did it. You know how I ended up in D.C.? For a girl I was with for 7 years.
Dude, you're
Then
Hosea.
Yo.
Dude, the only reason you went through that is so that you can.
But I had to. But you know what?
Shut up.
I had to.
No, it is like
I
that.
had to-
But that's.
But I had to understand.
I'm
You got to
being
understand. There's gonna be
I was
people.
messing with you.
There's people in my life that I know that I'm gonna meet,
$67.
and I know that there's a ministry in my life, and I have to get out of my own way.
Right.
But there's gonna be people in my life that I know I'm gonna meet. They're gonna have some of these same issues, and with my relationship, God is gonna show me how to speak to them, because that's something we tend not to do in the church. We don't want to talk about our issues, and how to help them find who He is.
And to let them know that the struggle never ends.
And it's not going to stop. And you know what? That's something they don't tell you. When you get baptized, you be like, oh, I got baptized?
It's better.
I'm good now. Dude, when I got baptized, I was like, what? Dude, I almost died.
Not what I signed
What's
up
this,
for.
2014? 2005, I almost died. I cracked my skull in 2 places from a motorcycle accident.
I'm gonna stay on the motorcycles.
At the moment I decided, oh, I'm a try and do this God thing. So it didn't happen for a reason. I know, but then again, that even turns into another testimony. I should have been dead. There's nobody that I know on bikes that crashed, that cracked their heads, I had no helmet on, that lived. But that's how I know God still had something left for me to do. But I guarantee you, I never heard anybody say that.
Say what?
That, yo, when I just picked up the word and just read it, you know, we're so general. Just search for God and you'll be good. God's good all the time. Yeah.
How you go about doing it is could never be answered, right?
Right. I never did it. And it was somebody who was an Adventist, actually, that was like, hey, you should do this. And I was like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah,
And you will really find exactly what you and that's the thing that showed me that I was never really truly abandoned. But it's still hard. I'm still dealing with it now.
Right.
One of the things I've also learned from this experience is, while I wanted to know God because that's what they told me I should do and it made sense, and I examined other things like, you know, Shanice did, and like none of these things seem to make as much sense as this, so I'm gonna stay here. When I understood what He did for me, like I now understand why Fred sings that He Lives song. He's always singing about the sacrifice that Jesus made, because when you appreciate that, when you come to the place where you're like, yo, He really did that for me because He really just wanted me, and all that He's doing, all that He allows to happen is really just so He can get my attention so that I will come in search of Him. It changes your perspective on everything that you're doing. And now it's like this, for me it felt like a light came on. It's like, oh, this is what it's been the whole time. Why did nobody ever tell me this? Why did nobody ever say it like this? Why didn't nobody ever personalize it and contextualize it to, you ever really like a girl?
Yeah.
And she ain't really paying no attention. Yeah. And you buy her flowers. She say, oh, that's nice. She call you when she wants something, but she don't really call you just to talk. She take advantage of everything that you do nice for her, and she don't really check for you, and she go out with some next fella.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had those. I've had that.
I think we've all had that.
Or she get you mad, and you don't want nothing to do with her, and you
But then
want to box her in her
But then
face,
she call you,
and then she
you
call
like,
in, and you're
okay.
like,
Dang, Ray. like I.
she show up. That's who I saw in here.
Oh my God.
I was the girl.
You're the girl.
I was the girl, and that's who I saw in here. That's what I saw.
That's real.
Yeah, and you can't get it twisted because
that's
like
real.
that, like bringing it back to the Bible, in Lamentations, you know, he's crying. The Lamentations is crying, wailing.
Christ.
Oh, this is why you did this and you did this and this is happening and women are eating their kids and this is happening in the street and what, don't you see this, Lord? And my heart is broken and they're laughing at me. Do you see they're laughing at me? Can you do to them what you do to me? Because I know I'm wrong. See, that's where it is. I know I'm wrong. I know I did something. He says, it is not from the, Lamentations 3:38. It is not from the mouth of the Most High. Is it not from the mouth of the Most High that both calamities and good things come? Why should any living man complain when punished for his sins? Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. Let us lift up our hearts and our hands to God of heaven and say, we have sinned and rebelled, and you have not forgiven. This is taking responsibility for our own sins, but still acknowledging the fact that God is Lord. God is sovereign. And that even though we deserve it, like sometimes when we're in it, we're like, I don't deserve this. You need to reveal yourself to me. You need to do this for me. You need to help me with this. You need to help me with that. We don't take responsibility for the fact that our relationship is not working out because I haven't done my part either. You know?
But what if you come to that point? Like, I feel like I've been to that point.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? God, you can kill me now. Just give me a sec. Give me one moment where I just know you. And I'm good. Like, I don't care if I have to be homeless on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Just let me know you.
And you know what?
And I'm
that's between, because I know you waiting for it.
Because you know what it is too? You know what it is too? Because
that's between
everybody
you and God.
always tells me, go to the book. I'm like, he's
not that
bigger than
simple.
the book. Like, I can't grasp the idea that you're telling me to find it in a book.
No.
When
it's not that simple.
It's not that simple.
that's what I'm
Because
having
you know
a
what I have to
problem
do?
with.
I'm not saying just
let me
the book.
add, this
That's what I have the
illustration
problem with.
worked for me. You ever work for a job and they send out messages and you never get, you see everybody doing something, you're like, how does everybody know what's happening? It was in the email. Did you read the email?
I didn't read it.
Did you read the email? It was there.
Which email?
It was in the email. It was in the letter. It was in the memo. You didn't read it? And a lot of us want to know what's happening.
But don't want to read
But
it.
some of the things you see
Wanna be
happening, you
told
don't
what's
want to be a
happening, but
part
don't
of.
wanna-
I'm saying the way this book is written, with the various stories and the various perspectives, you get to see who he is in such a way that when you add prayer onto it, you get to know who he is.
Right.
I can
And
say this.
and there's something else I had to do. I had to start fasting. And I didn't it wasn't necessarily
She's like, I ain't got a meal.
it wasn't necessary. And see, we have this idea in the church of don't eat no food, and
Turn
you know,
on the TV though.
I would do things like I would stay off social media maybe for a week, or I would
Turn off the TV.
not watch TV for a week. And
Computer.
the times that I would do things, I mean, I did do food fast too. And then I found a fasting partner, so every Wednesday we'd fast from sun up to sundown. We wouldn't eat, but it wasn't just, I couldn't just open a book. And I also, for the first time in my life, opened something from Ellen G. White. That my mother sent me these books, and I was like, okay, whatever. But I read Patriarchs and Prophets. I guarantee you read that. I could put the app on my phone. If you read that, you're gonna be like, the thing is, that was the first time that I really understood what love was. What do they tell you about Satan and God in heaven? Satan wanted to be God. They fought. He got kicked out. He lost the fight. But when I went to Patriarchs and Prophets, they said God was patient with him for a while and was pleading and wanted him to just say, you know what, God, my bad, I'm sorry. And he would have given Lucifer back his position, and it would have been business as usual.
Yep.
But because of pride, was why Satan said, he knew he could say sorry and be okay, but because of pride, he's like, nah, man, I can't go back and say my bad.
Like
And that's when it happened. But it wasn't, in my mind growing up, I always thought it was like one day, dude came up and pushed God, and God was like, nah, son. And then they started fighting. And then Satan lost, and then he was gone.
This is New York.
And he lost. They said it was a time.
Yeah, why New Yorkers gonna play God?
But so when I understood that and I started to see that, and those are the things that started to show me, I was like, yo, man, this dude really loves us, dude. Like, this, it's crazy. And when I started to think about all the girls that I thought I loved, I was like, I didn't really love them. We don't love them.
You don't love
No, we don't love them.
You know,
But
and that's
Chris,
what I'm
that's
working.
my-
You guys just pray for me, because you know what it is. Because of that, and because of the way I am, my issue is. This is why I always stopped going to church, because things of this nature always depressed me. It was just hard. It was just like, this is too much for me to.
What makes you happy?
Well, one quick thing, Shonice. So, and I think I was in your shoes.
I'm right there.
I'm still in your shoes, because every so often I'm like, man, these guys get to do all that stuff with God. What's up? Why can't I experience that? And I go back to the Lord's Prayer, which I realize, as simple as I might think it is, and be like, just a prayer with a say, then we move on. If you really look at the part where it says, give us this day our daily bread,
Daily.
and not try to do everything, try to consume everything one time and try to wrap your mind around it. So what I've started to do is to, each day to say, give me whatever bread I need for this day.
Right.
And help me to build on that as I go. And even if I crash and burn today, right, and I'm depressed, I'm like, it's just messed up for me all the way around. I can go back. I'm like, man, perfect case in point. The house we live in now, as much as I might feel entitled to it, right, I'm like, yeah, if I go walk my dog and take him, outside to go poop or whatever and come back, I'm like, man, I don't deserve this. Why do I have this? Why? And that just keeps going in my mind every time, everything I look at my entire life. Like, I grew up this way, I grew up doing this, I have this happened to family and friends. I was like, but yet you still find that grace and favor. Why? So, from me to you, try to look at it from that perspective, where ask for it daily. Because if you try to consume everything one shot, you'll be like, this don't make sense. This is in my view, this is stupidness. Give me the earthly stuff that's easy. I can just move around. It's like, forget her, forget him, move on, do what I got to do. But, I say daily, man.
And I can also say that, like, when I first heard the illustration of love for human, and that's how God loves me, and the way I treat people is where he treats, I was like, that's foolish. That's not love to me. That's punishment. You want to watch me suffer because you want me to come love you? That I don't support that argument. So I'm still where you are, because it doesn't make much sense to me. But I just think it's a matter of choice. Like, I ask myself, what do you have to lose by trying again? You know what I mean? Like, just taking it every day. I don't think I believe half the stuff I read just yet. And I'm just going off of, I hope when I continue to read this will start to make sense. And I'm hoping that God blesses my trying. You know what I mean?
Initiative.
Like, I'm trying. And sometimes when I pray, I find myself not, Heavenly Father, please bless me. And what I've learned, the piece I've learned is more, I tried today, God. I did. I didn't get that part. But I'm going to try again tomorrow. Hopefully you honor that. And I'm good to go. And sometimes that's when I feel I'm most hurt. I just don't know. So I definitely know where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. And like people who say, they felt like they get stuff to me, I always feel like things are going wrong with me. I'm like, why I always gotta get hit down? Like, I was leaking spinal fluid a couple months ago. Who does that? Like, why does this have to happen to me? Why do I have to wear this cast? Why do I have to keep going through this stuff? This is not right.
You know why? And you know why you have that emotion of this is not right? Because it's so weird. Because the reality is the human condition is certain things that we go through with God we wouldn't do to each other.
Exactly.
Like certain things that I go through with God I wouldn't do to my own child. So I don't understand why it happens to me if I wouldn't do it to somebody else.
Exactly. And that's why I said it doesn't look like love to me. Because I wouldn't do it to you. Why are you doing that to me?
When you know, I thought about something the other day and it was weird, and I was like, you know, we grade God on our grading scale.
That's true.
That's true.
And his it's totally different. And when you even think about him wanting us and why he wants us, you have a child?
Yeah.
Your child wins a music award. You raise your child your whole life. They give him everything, piano lessons, everything. And he gets up on stage because he wins this award and he goes, I want to thank Jared's your next door neighbor. I want to thank Jared for everything he's done for me. You're going to be tight. You're going to be like, what? Like, I gave this dude everything. His first car. I set his life up.
Right.
What did God do for us? So shouldn't he want that in return to a certain degree? Shouldn't he want, you know, when you see them talking about praising God and how it makes them feel, but being that he is our creator and he has set us up to a degree, shouldn't he want that in return?
Right.
Don't you want that from your child?
But sometimes it's not even that, because we like to make sense of things that don't make sense, and the truth is we can use Job's life as one of those examples where Job honestly didn't do anything wrong. He really didn't, but for the glory of God. And when it came down to it,
that's the only way I get through it, to accept that it's not supposed to make sense to me.
It's not.
Like, that's the only way I can fathom a lot of stuff.
But
like, I'm not supposed to understand it because it's beyond my supernatural understanding.
But when you have a relationship, it's not really about not understanding. It's about It's about searching in, because Job got to the point where he did understand, but it wasn't until way after he went through all of those things.
Right.
You understand? So when you're going through it, you're not understanding. But I mean,
he was also the guinea pig.
And that's the thing. He didn't have. There wasn't a problem. And even we see places in the Bible where people are like, what? Who sinned? Did this man sin? Did his parents sin? You know, why does he have this ailment? And Jesus is like, no one sinned. This is for the glory of God. Right. And we just, in our head, it's like, I wouldn't do that to you. You know, but you didn't set a world in place where there's so many people who are watching each other who need examples. And if you're chosen for that specific example, then it is above you. It's above your, like you know, it's how
that's
to say,
what I'm saying. But that's
it's
why,
above your pay grade.
That's the only way I can make sense. A lot of stuff to say, you know what, it's not for me to understand. I'm just supposed to. I
don't know. I'm not gonna take Job's friend's position and suggest the reasons why. I'm going to avoid that problem and suggest that do like Naaman and dip the full 7 times.
Yeah.
So far, you've admitted you haven't dipped the full 7 times.
No, but he also admitted that no one told him to dip because they're not revealing themselves to say, go dip. It's that deep for him.
Okay.
So it's even deeper than...
I'm just going to recommend. Even if you have to challenge him and say, look, I'm going to give this a wholehearted effort. And if you don't show up, you know, I will just enjoy the rest of my 70, 80 years here. And we go 20, 30. We go settle accounts when that time comes.
I feel you, because I've gotten to that place where at some point in time, I'm like, you know what, I make it to heaven, great. If I don't...
But the cool thing about it is that you're dead. Like, you don't even know.
Huh? You said what?
I was like, you're dead. You don't even know.
Can't believe
you don't like this. I mean, that's
you're supposed to temper him. I'm changing jobs.
You don't know.
I think the good thing is, you know, Chris.
You're dead.
Even if they don't get it now, well, I say I don't get it. Some cases too, is the fact that you're searching, is what make it for him, where he will never let you just slide like that or slip off and just never reap anything from your deep searching.
Because you know there's something more.
From our
Yeah,
perspective.
I know
There's
that.
something there.
But you just want to see it.
That's
Right.
it.
That's it. You just want to see it.
Yeah, but so this is the thing. So I'm listening to you guys. I'm listening to you
I think we
guys.
can take off the cameras now.
I'm listening to you guys, and like the only thing I could keep thinking of, is just like a field.
Jesus, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't realize
Not-
what time it was.
Yeah, we did.
Eventually, we'll be like Jesus. But, I think about a field, and what I hear from you, and like what I'm hearing from different people, and I'm kind of there, not really. My
You ain't
wife's
gotta be
calling.
a part of the crowd.
Yeah.
Is that you have to have patience, like in the tilling of the field. Like you're saying that you've been here, you've done all these things, but part of it is that you might not be ready. Like part of it is that he's still working out, he's still tilling
Right. See, because my thing
the
is, I
area
knew-
around you.
I knew from since I was 10 years old that I had to do something. I had to make a choice at then. Because my father died, and that was my introduction to faith. So it's like, either you're going to go this way or you're going to go this way. At 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I got baptized, because I made a choice. But it didn't completely work out in my favor. Like, I don't know if it's by situation or, by circumstance, where you live, whatever I've always seen suffering. So it's just what I know. Not just me, but the people around me.
And God he talks about patience and suffering.
And that's
nothing
that's
wrong.
what
There's nothing wrong.
Right.
My thing is that I get frustrated when I hear like people talking about like the good things about life.
Come on.
Because
So do I. So do I.
because
I
it's
can dig that.
not like we
No,
put
no, I
good
dig
and
that
bad from
completely.
like our perspective
Yes.
of here.
And that's okay.
No, because if we're truly believing what God is saying and what we read earlier when we broke down trust and slave and all that kind of stuff, it's all good. Everything is good because everything gets us to Him. If we're fully trusting in Him, even though, come on, man.
Come on.
He can't be anything but good.
Because it's all
God
Based
is
upon-
good, but the situation. See,
No.
This is where sometimes when we say things and so the
No,
so little
you mean
kid
Kendrick says things.
So little kid who's sitting in dirt, it's not good to them.
Dude, don't put it. Don't.
But that's
put
what I'm
it
saying.
on
That's
our
what I'm saying.
level.
What I'm saying is, it's okay for us to call good and call bad. We are in a fallen, sinful world, and it is okay to point things out as not fun, not fair, not this, not that. God wants a relationship with us. He doesn't want us to be fake and phony. And sometimes that's what turns people away from Christ.
No one's telling you to
we
be fake and phony.
We say it's all good.
I'm not saying.
That's not what
I'm
he-
not
You
saying.
That's not what he. That's
You're
not
saying-
what I didn't get
That's
that.
not
from
what
him.
he-
No,
saying.
I'm not saying to be fake and phony because at that point when your mindset is there, it doesn't matter what that master tells that person. Doesn't matter what it bodily harm, whatever. It doesn't matter what it causes that person. He's looking at it as if it's good.
You say God or us?
Us.
We're looking,
We're looking
at it
If
as
God,
as if
even if God told us to burn our leg off, when you reach to the point of the relationship that we're supposed to be, we're
Oh, okay.
gonna
You're talking
think
about
that's
relationship.
good.
I thought you were
We're-
talking about the earth and.
Because we, I mean,
Okay, I
that's
got
what
it.
you're
I got
saying.
it.
Everything
I got what
is-
you're saying. I misunderstood it.
No,
I
I got it.
misunderstood.
So when people start talking about like all like one of I think one of the posts I put was
So
talking about like
basically,
inconvenient.
I see what you're saying. So like to embrace it because all things work together.
Well, you
No, you're not embracing the suffering. You're not embracing the situations necessarily. What you're doing is embracing that. You're embracing that no matter what is happening, God wants to have a relationship, and I'm embracing the relationship
if you're a plant and you keep, like, you're in the ground and you want to be, like, the reason why you're planted is to produce this fruit. And you're always trying to get to that process of producing the fruit. But the problem is you have to wait until the right conditions, the right times, all that kind of stuff. And that waiting sucks.
Right.
It sucks.
It's a lot of
But if you have the perspective that but once I get there, and it might not be prospering like we talk about, but once God gets us where he wants us to be, and I now can produce fruit to feed, I've reached my purpose.
Okay.
You just have to be patient in that process. So while you're underground and you can't see what's going on, you don't see the tilling, you don't see the water, you don't see the sun, you don't see the hail, you don't see the disease, you don't see any of that kind of stuff. All you're doing is you're focused on everything. You're just, I'm God's creating this fruit, and there's a purpose why I'm here.
Okay.
And so, like and I think I talked about it with, when we're talking about the death of this lady who went to church. Like I was saying, we look at things from so many different perspectives, and most of it, unfortunately, is our perspective. We fail to see the big picture. Like that's why when you were talking about, I see God and I see the miraculous things that he's done, but when I look at my life, I can't see it. That's why I was asking you, like, how could you, how could you not see it because of all the miraculous things he's done? So if you see the miraculous things he's done, there's got to be a portion of you, and I'm not saying you should or whatever, but there's a portion of you that's like, okay, I can wait on this because I haven't seen it anywhere else. And if there's if there's the best thing I've seen, and I know that he did it, then I gotta wait.
Right. I think that's the key is starting to respect his perspective and getting at least a small grasp of his perspective and then accepting it. There's one of the scriptures that was most powerful to me when I started reading the plan was Deuteronomy 8. We could take a quick look because it was really powerful in this whole perspective is reality idea. I think this was it. I didn't have it highlighted in here. So it says, "Be careful to obey all the commands I'm giving you today. Then you will live and multiply, and you will enter and occupy the land the Lord swore to give your ancestors. Remember how the Lord led you through the wilderness these 40 years." And I paused there. It was a wilderness. We had snakes. It was hot. It was sweaty. It wasn't comfortable. They didn't have water. They was moving around in tents. They had to dig holes to mess. They didn't have food. It was a wilderness. It wasn't a comfortable situation. 40 years wilderness. And he says, "I led you through the wilderness, humbling you and testing you to prove your character, to find out whether or not you would obey his commands." I had to ask myself right there, in all that God has been doing, how faithful have I been to what I know he's been telling me to do? And has what I've been doing been conditional to whether I was in the wilderness or in Egypt? Or whether my comfort level was not... Was I faithful like Job, regardless of what my situation was?
All right.
That was first one. Yes, he humbled you by letting you go hungry, then feeding you with manna, a food previously unknown to your ancestors. He did it to teach you that people do not live by bread alone, rather we live by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. And here's a perspective. For all those 40 years, hot sun, bad tents, pooping in the hole, on the ground, no water, your clothes didn't wear out.
Mm-hmm.
Your feet didn't blister or swell. And I stopped to think about it. 40 years, they didn't have nowhere to make clothes or buy clothes or get clothes. The same clothes they left Egypt with. And for 40 years, the clothes never get holes.
And it's easy to lose that perspective.
Wow.
They were studying all the meat that they didn't have and how they had, they didn't have vegetables and all them things they was eating in Egypt. And if you was in Egypt, you had a lot of saying, but your clothes didn't wear out.
And your feet didn't blister.
And your feet didn't blister. Neither did your shoes. You walking around in the desert for 40 years in the same shoes. And you miss the fact that you still have whole shoes?
See, now I gotta take that in. Because I
That's
feel
a
like,
lot, right?
I do. Yeah, that is a lot.
And you heard it before?
No.
You never heard that?
I've never heard that.
Wow.
I've always heard something opposite, which is the people that he took out of Egypt didn't live. He was weeding off the ones that weren't supposed to make it.
Wow.
Because they didn't believe, and they were bringing that old mindset. So they had to be there for 40 years so the old generation could die off and he could start with the new generation.
I heard that too.
That's what I've always been taught.
That's why
And that's in there too.
So I gotta
That's
read it.
now I'm confused.
He said if you're still here, there's something for you to pay attention to and be grateful for. You don't realize it, but have you taken the blessings of this that I did for you, that I did for you? You're looking at all the bad stuff that happened, but have you seen the good? Have you taken notice of the good? You know, like you said, you have a child. The birth of a child, no matter how bad the circumstance, was there any pleasure? Was there any happiness? Was there anything in that? If you're saying that you can't find the happiness, the joy, the pleasure, the blessing in anything in your life, then it's not God. It's you. You're not taking a minute to see the wonderful things. And that's what he's saying. You're complaining and stuff, but did you see what I've done for you?
What version is that?
This is New Living Translation. But yeah, this verse 4 that I read, it made me stop to adjust my perspective. And I realized that I can either complain about not having the meat that I had in Egypt, or I could notice that my shoes are still whole.
Right.
I choose to notice that my shoes are still whole.
Right.
Now he goes on to say a number of things. Think about it, just as your parent disciplines a child, so the Lord disciplines you for your own good. Obey his commands, obey his commands. That's what he says a lot in this. Obey his commands, obey. But he goes on to say, but that is the, when you've eaten your fill and you've gone into the land, be sure, when you've eaten your fill, be sure to praise the Lord your God for the good land he's given you. Now, context. They're moving into the promised land. He's telling them, right now you're in the wilderness, I'm moving into the promised land. And things are going to go well for you. But remember who did it. Don't forget me. Don't forget that I kept your shoes. Don't forget that I'm the one. He goes on to tell them not to forget anything else. Don't forget when this happens to you, don't forget. When that happens to you, don't forget. Don't forget what I did, and he reminds them of all the things that he's done. One of the themes of Deuteronomy, the whole Old Testament, is remember what God has done for you. It's easy for you to forget.
Because pain does that.
And he says we're forgetful people. He even tells them, make tassels on your clothes to remind you. Tie thing on your house.
That's why you wear earrings.
Put things around you to remember, because you're going to forget.
No, you're right.
Where I've gone. And when you forget, you start to slip back into that place of, I want to go back to Egypt and eat them leeks.
Yeah, woe is me. Here I am.
And before he even says all that, he always qualifies himself. Like, he always qualifies before he tells you to obey, before he tells you to do anything. He's always telling, like, he didn't ask them to obey him, to, any of that before he brought, like, he was like, I'm just going to bring you out. And then based upon what I've done, then you obey me.
Right.
The last part is, and I'm going to read it.
Encounter.
But I'm not going to, because of the context, I don't want you to take it out of the point that I want to make. But I should assure you of this. If you ever forget the Lord your God and follow other gods, worshipping and bowing down to them, you'll certainly be destroyed. Essentially, he wants that whatever is happening, that you're going to honor and worship, fear, respect, submit yourself as doulos to his authority.
Who is doulos?
That's the Greek word for slave.
Okay.
To his authority.
Like, who's this dude?
That's what he's looking for. That's what he wants. He's going to love you like son, treat you like friend. But he wants you to recognize his authority, not your own. And it's the Garden of Gethsemane, yet not my will, but thy will be done. And his will is that you get to know him. And that's what it says. It's John 6:40. For the Father's will is that you believe in the Son and the one he has sent. That's what he wants. He wants you to believe in him. And he's going to do what it takes for you to believe in him. The book of Ezekiel is littered with, and then they shall know that you are the Lord. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, and then they'll know that you're the Lord. And then I'm going to this, and that, and that. I highlighted it so many times and started to make a note because it was like the whole thing. Everything he does is so that he'll know that he's the Lord, and then you'll accept him as Lord. You have to ask yourself, and I had to ask myself, Am I accepting him as Lord? Have I submitted to him? Is he the boss? Am I willing to do what he wants me to do? And has he proven himself enough that I'm willing to submit myself that way?
That's hell.
And those are the questions I wrestle with. But I've seen through this who he is, and I'm learning every day more who he is, what he wants. And that's what I read this for. I wanted to know what he wants, what he likes, what he doesn't like, you know, what ticks him off, what makes him happy, what ticks him off the most. Ticks him off the most.
And that's the
when
perspective.
You put somebody else in his place, including yourself.
So we were all taught wrong. Because that perspective right there is not the perspective that we're taught.
You're like water for the thirsty. I drink. You're like water for the thirsty.